Hello, I'm Nola, and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if this is your first time, welcome. Today I am going to be speaking on grief, and you may ask why this particular video. I want to share what led me to create this video. I lost my husband approximately 3.5 years ago, and almost 5 years ago, I lost my sister, I lost my nephew, I lost a first cousin that was very much a sister to me, and between my late husband and I, we lost 14 family members and friends, and a couple of those people were very, very close friends to me. And this was in 2020 when all of COVID crisis was going on in the world. But what has brought me to speak with you today about grief is something that happened to me over the last few weeks, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And you know, the subconscious mind is really a brilliant thing because it will remind us without really reminding us. And so my spirit was vexed. I had an incredible migraine headache, something that I hadn't had in a long time. And I kept hearing two songs in particular that my late husband loved. One of them is by Randy Crawford, and it's called Almaz. And the other one is Always. There have been many covers of these two songs. Well, not the two songs, but the song Always. And his favorite was by Phil Collins. So yesterday I was feeling particularly full of grief, and I decided to go to bed early. And then I also realized that in about a week from now and a few days from now, we would have celebrated both my late husband's birthday and my sister's birthday. And this is how I've come to speak to you today about grief. I feel that Spirit has led me to speak about grief today and share my experiences with you and to ask where you are in your grief process. Maybe you lost a loved one 20 or 30 years ago. Maybe you lost a loved one this morning or last night, and you just don't know how to deal with it. First of all, the shock of it all, and the denial, and the grief. Okay, so I've broken this video into several parts. I've already told you why I'm doing this video, and the second part, and I will be referring to my notes because I'm a senior citizen and I cannot remember everything that Spirit tells me, so I scribble, on paper. And the second part will be, we will unpack what is grief, and then we will speak about the emotional landscape of grief and how tricky that can be, and also the spiritual aspects of grief. I would also like to touch on grief and your physical well-being, not just your emotional and spiritual well-being, but your physical well-being, and how grief can show up in your physical body. So then we will chat a little bit about the healing and transformation of grief, and then I'll do a closing message on hope. I've also pulled two oracle cards that I will tell you what they are at the end, and perhaps we will even get a message for one or two of you out there from Spirit, from your loved ones on the other side. So let's get going. I never know what's going to happen. And also these videos are for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or mental health expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm speaking purely from my experience. So, as I said, what is grief? Oh my goodness. Grief is a myriad of things, and we can grieve for many things over our lifetime. Maybe it's you lost an earring and it had great sentimental value to you. Maybe it was the first pair of earrings that you got from your mom, and your mom has since made her transition, and so you're, besides grieving for your mom, you're grieving for your lost earring. You could be grieving for a beloved pet, or you could be grieving for a home. Perhaps you've gone through a divorce. So that's a loss of a relationship. Maybe you lost a very good friendship because of stuff, right? We all have stuff in our lives, so you've had to let people go. Maybe you're grieving for your health. Maybe you've had a really difficult battle over the last year or two with your health. Or perhaps it's even your identity. Maybe you've been on medication and you've gained an enormous amount of weight, or side effects from medication have taken its toll on you. So there are all of those kinds of grief. And then there's even the version of ourselves, right? And finally, on losing a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a child. Well, I've lost my parents. I've lost a sibling. I have lost a husband. I've lost friendships, but nothing has impacted me more than losing my spouse. Because the way you love your children, the way that you love your spouse and other people in your life is a very different thing, particularly if you were fortunate to have had a good marriage. So what I need you to know, and what I want to confirm for you, is that grief does not have a timeline, and it can and does resurface unexpectedly. When you least expect it, you can be going along doing just fine, and then you will have a smell, or you will see someone that resembles your loved one, or it may be a piece of music. Just unexpected things that will literally knock you to your knees. So the emotional landscape of grief, every day it can be different. Or every month it can be different. Or from moment to moment it can be different. There's denial. There's anger. There's the sadness. There's the numbness. There's even guilt and relief. Right? For me, when my mom passed away, there were all of those things, but there was also relief, because she'd been ailing for so long. And to be really truthful, for us, my siblings and I, to carry that, after a while we were weary, and she finally made her transition, and I can speak for myself that I felt relief when my mom passed. And when my husband passed, it was different too. When my sister passed, when my nephew passed, when my cousin passed, and when one of my closest friends and confidants passed. So it's important to allow all of those emotions to flow rather than suppress them. And also, when we're in grief, we have dreams about our loved ones. We have experiences, not just dreams. You can have experiences. I remember my husband passed away about 11:15 in the morning. When I finally got home, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I didn't want anyone to come over. He'd been ill for a short while, but over the years he'd had several struggles with his health, and I took care of him. And so I just wanted to be alone in my grief. It was still also during the season of COVID. And I remember getting home, and I felt him in the bedroom. I felt him in the house. It was palpable. His energy was there. He was supposed to come home the next day. He was doing really well. He'd been in the hospital about a week or so, and he was doing really well, and he was supposed to come home. And when I got to the hospital that Sunday morning, we laughed and we spoke about him coming home the next day and why he could have gone home Sunday, but his doctor, who was fantastic actually, wanted to keep him an extra day because he just felt that something wasn't right. So I helped to get him settled, and then I said I needed to go down to the cafeteria to get a cup of coffee. And as I climbed out of the elevator, my phone rang, and it was his doctor asking me where I was. I said, I'm just stepping out of the elevator into the lobby. I was going to get a cup of coffee. And he said that they just coded my late husband and I needed to come back upstairs. And the woman at the front desk, at the reception desk, knew who I was because I'd been going to the hospital for a long time, over many weeks. It was in and out and back and forth. And so they rushed over to unlock the elevator for me, and I went back up, and by the time I got there, he was gone. So you cannot imagine the emotion and the sadness that I felt and the guilt. I felt that he passed alone, and even though I've worked in the medical field, I knew that some patients or people prefer and choose who is going to be with them. But that did not sit right with me. I just felt that I should have been there to hold his hand and so on and so forth. So since then, I've had a lot of experiences with him and my sister and my mother and my cousin and other people, because I've always been sensitive to energy. But one other profound thing that happened with my husband, he also loved Tom Jones, and one of Tom Jones's favorite songs for him, to me, was Tell. Not only did Tom Jones, was he loved by my late husband, he was also worshipped by my mom. Okay, she was a Tom Jones fan, and I remember being 11 or 12 years old and coming home from school, and Tom Jones would be live on TV, and Kate was right there just thirsting after Tom Jones. So I lived in Florida at the time, and at the Van Wetzel Performing Arts Center in Sarasota, Tom Jones was going on tour. He was having a show there, and I couldn't find anyone to go with me. And I really wanted to go to honor both my mom and my husband. And whenever my husband and I went to the theater or to a show, we always chose the aisle seat for him, and the second seat in from was for me. So I bought my ticket and I drove from where we lived all the way into Sarasota, and I attended the show on my own. It was a very rainy and wet Saturday, and lo and behold, the seat in the aisle was for somebody else, and I had the second seat in. But the seat that was empty, on the back of the seat, people donated seats. My goodness, I couldn't make this up, even if I tried, was my husband's name, and the people it was a husband and wife that had donated the seat that was in front of the seat that my husband would have sat in. And I just could not believe it, and I knew that he was there with me. And eventually the seats around me filled up. There was a woman that sat in the seat next to me, and a couple of other single women or single people that had come alone sat beside me, and it was a great concert. But I knew that my late husband was there and that he approved of me going to the show. This was in I think it was in May of 2023. So I don't know how your loved ones are showing up to you, maybe with butterflies and dragonflies and bumblebees and feathers and pennies, or lights going on, or the phone ringing and no one being there. or their number showing up on your phone. There's a number of ways that our loved ones show us that they're still around us, because I don't believe that anybody dies. Nothing and nobody dies. Just like solids turn to liquid and liquids turn to solids, so when we leave this body, this envelope, our body is only the envelope for our souls, and we do move on. We are just on another dimension. Okay? So what is the spiritual aspect of grief, you may be asking? And I hope I can answer some of your questions today. Grief is also part of a soul lesson. And you know how we say the price you pay for loving someone is grief when they leave. That's the price of love. It's grief. So loss often leads us to our own profound spiritual transformations. And we just spoke about the signs that our loved ones can send us, and how our connection with spirit and our intuition can be enhanced through grief. Now that's a heck of a way, right, to make connection with spirit, with the Creator, whatever you call that awesome being that created each and every one of us, right? So through grief, we learn to deepen our ties. And I don't know who you have lost. I have two sisters that have both lost children. It's not anything I would wish on my worst enemy. I cannot speak on that if you have lost a child. I also have a very close cousin who lost her child, and she is a medical worker and was in the emergency room the day that accident showed up. And how she gets out of bed every day, I don't know. How my sisters get out of bed, I don't know. One of them was still pretty young when she lost a young child, and I will never forget that. And my older sister lost one of her boys, and I don't know how these girls get out of bed, because it's not anything I would ever wish to experience, nor would I wish that on my worst enemy. So you're here today, not by coincidence, but because I believe that you're meant to hear these messages. And then I want to speak about how grief shows up in your physical body. Never mind what it does, not never mind, but in addition to what it does, how it manifests in your body, your emotions, the heartache, the heartbreak, the suffering, the tears, the denial, the anger, the relief, all of those things that we've covered. Then the body has aches and pains, a foggy mind, you don't eat. And the late Louise Hay, I always loved her teachings and some of her work. The way that she described what I had acid reflux, which means fear. It was fearful. I didn't know how I was going to go on without my late husband. I didn't know how I was going to cope. I didn't know how I was going to move forward. So my grief manifested in two ways. With terrible acid reflux. I even ended up by having my gallbladder removed because it was so severe. And then it also showed up in my hips. Terrible, terrible pain in my hips. It was not arthritis. I was tested for, several things. And the way that Louise Hay interpreted it, she said, some people have hip issues because of unresolved childhood trauma. And other people have it because of fear of moving forward and not knowing how to move forward. So it is greatly important, whether you've been through a divorce, a breakup of a friendship, a loss of a home, whatever it is that you are grieving for, it is imperative that you take care of your body. The importance of self-care and honoring your physical body the same way that you honor your spiritual mind is really, really important if you are going to thrive as you continue to grieve. So there's breath work, there's movement, walking, or whatever it is that you like to do. There's nutrition, there's vitamins and minerals and micronutrients that you might want to consider. And of course, sleep. And I know that that is a tough one. Some days, no matter what you do, sleep will not come. You keep listening for the door, you listen for the phone. You do anything to wipe those toothpaste splatters off of the mirror in the bathroom. You are in denial that your person will never be back. They won't physically be back, but they will be back in spirit. I promise you. I want you to feel free in the comments to please tell me how you are doing and how you are coping and what it is that you are grieving. Share with me. I want this to be a safe place for you. Whether you've lost your mom or your dad or a spouse or a child or a pet, please come and speak with me. And then I want to speak about the myth, oh my gosh, of moving on versus moving forward. And I want to tell you that there's no such thing as moving on. Yeah, you may move on from a job, right? You may move on from people that have treated you badly. But when you lose a loved one, there's no such thing as moving on. But we can move forward. I have moved forward, but that's a video for a whole nother day, if you are interested in hearing about it. I must address the pressure that society places on you about this moving on. And people say some of the darndest things, and we don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear that they or he or she are in a better place. Even if you know they were suffering, that's not easy to hear. I wish that more people would be mindful and simply say, I don't know what to say. I cannot imagine how you're feeling. Versus saying, oh, they're in a better place, or I know how you feel. No, I don't know how you feel. And I will not even pretend to know how you feel, because your loss is your loss and your pain is your pain. And I encourage you to treat yourself with kindness, the same kind of kindness that you show to everyone else, and the consideration that you show to everyone else. Instead, let's talk about how you will integrate your grief into your life, because we never get over. That's one of the biggest lies that we've ever been fed, and it makes me angry. We never get over. We simply learn how to cope. I'm telling you, we simply learn how to cope, and we learn how to carry our grief differently, depending on who we are with and who we are around. Many people who have never lost somebody close to them don't know about the dates, the anniversaries, the first Mother's Day without your mom, the first Father's Day without your dad, the first birthday without your precious child, or Christmas. All of those things. And that's where the subconscious mind, sometimes we've got to settle ourselves like I had to and say, well, what is going on, Nola? And then I remembered these anniversaries. And so the concept is how you will continue to keep memories in healthy ways. And if you are having difficulty I beseech you to seek counseling, to get involved with the grief counseling group and talk about it. Talk about what you're feeling and going through with other people that have experienced similar. And then we will move on to how you are healing and transforming yourself through your grief. And I want to tell you about a couple of books that have helped me. One I discovered many, many years ago. It was by Dr. Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. And over the years, I've read that book more than 10 times because it has helped me at different periods in my life to deal with different things. And also, I discovered not too long ago a book, and I don't know any one of these people and the author that I'm going to speak about. I don't know them personally. I found a book by Laura Lynn Jackson called Signs, and it's the secret language of the universe. Okay, and she has a collection of incredible stories here that speak to the universe's endless capacity for magical moments. And this has been a really, really helpful resource for me. That I'm not crazy, and neither are you, right? What you're feeling, sensing, smelling, and dreaming about. The brushes on your cheeks, the pressure on your bed, the vivid dreams of getting a hug, and your loved one telling you that they are fine, not your imagination. I promise you. The smell of a cigarette, when there's nobody around for miles around and nobody smoking. You don't smoke. There's no one smoking in your home. Your loved one, not your imagination. Now, there are others that will argue that and say that it's psychosomatic, and I don't believe so. So, how will you heal and transform through your grief? You know, grief can often lead and has led many people to newfound purposes for their lives or a deeper understanding about life. And your own journey has led you to where you are right now. This is where my journey has led me to. Today, as I speak and sit here, I have resisted doing this for 32 years. I never wanted any parts of it because of my religious upbringing, because of the stigma associated with it. But finally, Spirit put me in a situation where I had no other chance or choice but to do this, to follow what I know that my heart has been called to do. And so I'm here before you today. So I encourage you to trust your process, dear one. Your journey is unique and you must honor that. Your journey is not like anyone else's. Don't allow anyone to tell you how to feel. Don't allow that. What you feel is really real and very unique to you. And then in my notes, oops, covered papers with books. Sorry. I want you to remember your loved ones. I choose to light candles on the anniversary of my late husband's passing, on the anniversary of my sister's passing or her birthday, or my cousin or other friends and relatives. And I tell you this, I put those memorial candles on the stove and I don't leave them on when I leave the house. But if I start them in the evening, when I get home from work or whatever, the next morning when I get up, most of them have burned away or others are still burning. So I say put them on the stove so that you don't burn down the house. And I want to remind you that you're not alone. I promise you, if you could only see what I see, and many of you do see what I see, all of the loved ones in the rooms with you. Okay? I have to tell you, You would be so surprised. You have your guides, you have your angels. There's a host of angels. You will only call on them. And all of the little things that show up. Talk to your loved ones. I do. I do. I feel them. I sense them. I hear them. I smell them. I sometimes give friends and family messages that I have no idea what the message means, but I just try to be a good little student and deliver the message. And I ask you again to share your experiences in the comments. And if I didn't tell you the name of the author of the book Signs, her name is Laura Lynn Jackson, and I don't know her. I'm just very fond of her book. And I think that you'll find it a really good resource. And there are so many other wonderful teachers and writers out there. You know, there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And without further ado, I don't know if you recall that I said I pulled 2 cards. I pulled one card from Pocket Archetypes by Kim Krans. Where is the camera? And the card that I pulled from this little deck is Starborn. See that? And then the other card that I pulled from Kyle Gray, if you know me, I love Kyle Gray's oracle cards, is from Angels and Ancestors. I thought that that would be appropriate because many have lost grandparents to and aunts and uncles and so on. And the card that I pulled is Peacekeeper. Let go of the need to be right. So what did I get? What do I get from these 2 cards? The oracle cards, I pull these because I want to help to deepen your experience of your grief and your healing. And the Peacekeeper says, let go of the need to be right. Okay, and from the Pocket Archetype deck, Starborn. And so I believe that these 2 cards offer profound insight into how it is that you will move forward. And so you would have to consider and embracing surrender and recognizing your connection to the greater cosmos, your connection. Because it is a journey of surrender and cosmic connection. And in navigating the profound journey of your grief, the 2 guiding principles that emerge are, number 1, surrendering to the process, the Peacekeeper. This card encourages you to release the need to control or be right in all issues, and to be right in your grieving, and to allow other people to tell you how you should and shouldn't feel, how you should and shouldn't grieve, and how long it's taking you to get over. There is no getting over. Precious one, there is no getting over, but you learn how to cope and how to carry it. And to let go of the rigid expectations that you put on yourself and that you allow others to put on you. Whatever your culture is, maybe they want you to wear black for a year. Maybe they want you to wait 10 years before you can date again. Just allow yourself genuine healing, allowing your emotions to flow naturally and without judgment. You don't even judge yourself. Don't. And recognizing your cosmic purpose, the Starborn archetype reminds us that each soul carries a unique destiny. And so grief can serve as a catalyst, reconnecting you or us to our higher purpose, to your higher purpose and the vast universe. And embracing this perspective can perhaps help you to transform your life in ways that you could never have imagined. And you will navigate grief with grace and kindness to yourself, however long it takes. That is what Spirit wants to give to you today. So I hope that this has helped you by weaving together surrender and the cosmic awareness. You will navigate with grace through and over your grief. And so I don't know that Spirit has any particular message for me, for anyone out there. Cannot be for many people, probably just one or two. So if you'll take whatever you need and discard the rest. Okay, there we go. There is a woman out there between 43 and 45 years old that has 4 children. You have lost your husband. He's passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. He wants you to know Ronnie or Johnny. Ronnie or Johnny. And these are 3 boys and a girl, the girl being the youngest and the oldest being about 19 or 20 years old. The girl was a baby when he passed. He wants me to tell you that he is around you. He knows that you wear his sweater. You have held on to things just for his smell and his energy. He has seen your suffering and he knows that he left you with a mighty burden. And you've basically been abandoned by your family. Isn't that something? We always get to know during the toughest times in our life who our real tribe is, who our true friends are. And you are doing everything. You work from sun up to sundown, is what he's telling me, to keep everything afloat. Nobody knows your struggles. And he says that he will soon be sending a new man into your life. And you're not to worry about his mother and his father and brothers and sisters and your sibling or siblings, what they say. You deserve love. And that you have approval from him. You feel like you'll never get over it, and no, you won't, darling girl. You will never get over him, but you'll carry his love in a different way. And there is space in your heart to love again and to be loved. There was something wrong with his head. I have terrible, terrible migraine feeling. A taste of blood in my mouth. No, this is very specific. I don't know. This was not suicide. It was not a gunshot, because often when I taste blood, it could have been a severe head injury or I've had the feeling of gunshot. But this is not the case. I don't know what the problem was with the shoulders and the head, or the head and the shoulders, maybe an aneurysm. But he passed over time and you took good care of him. And he's very proud of you. And he sees your tears. He wishes that he had left you in a better position. But he's always around you when you smell him. It is him. I know he smokes cigarettes and something else. I don't know what that smell is. Was it a pipe of tobacco, a scented tobacco of some kind? I don't know. But Ronnie or Johnny wants you to know that he's with you. It's not your imagination when you hear him speaking with you, when you feel his presence, even when you're driving in your vehicle. He's always with you. He has never left you. The body is an envelope for the soul. So when we lose our loved ones, people in our lives, our pets, they simply go to another dimension. There are so many dimensions. Okay? And you don't need me to communicate with your loved ones. They're simply a thought away. Ask for the signs, they will show up, and it will not be your imagination. What you have already experienced is not your imagination. It's not. You know. So once again, that message is for you. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here today. Please like, subscribe, and share. And until the next time, take care. Bye now.